Hello, ma'am. So here we have Dr. Fawzia Tarannum in 12th Eastern Himalayan Regional Forest. Welcome once again, ma'am.
Thank you.
As an expert in working in water governance and sustainability, I have a question. As an expert in water governance, what are the key challenges you see in managing water resources, and how can policy frameworks better support sustainable water management practices?
Thank you very much. I think when we look at policies, for instance, we do have some very good policies in India, but somewhere the governance of those policies or operationalization of those policies becomes a big issue because there's no such documentation supporting policy that how to operationalize it or trickle it down for the purpose for which it has been designed. The second challenge for management of water, I feel, is data. We really don't have much data in the public domain. We also have institutions which are supposed to capture this data, but to present this data in a manner or share this data with people is a challenge. And hence, researchers also, when they get engaged in carrying out research, they have their own limitations. So we can only know certain amount of information that comes to us. So that data definitely is a very big challenge that is there. The third challenge with respect to water governance is also in terms of how are we trying to treat water. So water being a state subject, every state manages it. So if I'm looking at within India, I'm not even looking at transboundary water management. I'm just looking at within India. So states manage their own waters, and collaboration between the states, for instance, to manage rivers at a river basin scale rather than a fragmented scale, that's also not happening. So basically, we're still creating boundaries for natural resources which probably don't respect any boundaries. So that's again a big issue which is there. And of course, last but not the least, water traditionally happened to be a community resource, with community being custodian of water and managing it at that level, understanding how much water is there and what is the purpose for which we should use, protecting and preserving the water. But with the creation of piped water supply and bringing water to the homes of people, there is a complete community disconnect with the water body. And hence, they are probably now victims of abuse, where they are being used either to discharge, wastewater from homes or dumping of solid waste. So these are some of the reasons I feel which limit probably a good management of our water resources.
Thank you, Mansa. Now coming to the next question, we saw the challenges. Now, in context of increasing water scarcity, how do you envision innovative solutions or technologies playing a role in enhancing water security and improving watershed management for future generations?
Yeah, excellent question. So I think I'm not recollecting the right year, but I think it was 2011 when India came up with a plan called Integrated Water Resources Management, Watershed Management Plan. So under this Integrated Watershed Management Plan, every panchayat and every institutions were told that, okay, you should build up structures to preserve water or to conserve water. In the process, what happened is that people went on to just build check dams rampantly without really understanding or looking at it from a watershed scale. So when this happened, the rampant construction of water check dams, anicuts, check dams, it actually went on to disturb the natural hydrological channels. So today, a major issue that we are facing with respect to our water bodies having the right amount of water is disturbing of the hydrological channels. Now, very difficult to recreate those channels again. There is infrastructure development which is also probably blocking the natural channels. At the same time, we do have a huge dependence on groundwater, especially in your northeast, for instance. Your springs actually, the groundwater is the source for the springs. So when the groundwater gets depleted, your springs get depleted. So we do have, I think, large number of spring shed management programs that are happening, where we are creating shallow structures to capture rainwater. So I would say the first and foremost thing that we should try doing it is rainwater harvesting. It's simple. It has been practiced traditionally. Every state in India had some system or the other, whether it is in the northeast, where you had the Zabo system, or where you had the Apatani system. From there to Rajasthan, where they had Johars and Takas. To the south, where we had tank system. And all these systems were actually built to capture rainwater. Or even in our temples and religious places where we had tanks, we need to really look at how we can revive them. So one is you can revive them using rooftop rainwater harvesting, so wherever possible. The other way to revive them is also catchment area rainwater harvesting, where you can make shallow depressions wherever possible along the contour. So you have to be mindful of the contour also, that you just don't make it randomly, but do it more scientifically. Understand the watershed, understand the drainage pattern in that watershed. And now these days we do have QGIS, ArcGIS. You can use these tools very easily to do a watershed plan. Your micro watershed you can map. You can have the contours. You can have actually the drainage pattern, and thereon you can actually go ahead and create structures where you can slow down the water and use it for recharging. Why do we need this is also because earlier we had a monsoon season which used to last like from July till maybe September or October. So we used to have a proper 3 to 4 months of monsoon season. Now what has happened is this has got compressed into 15 days. And even when you have the same amount of rainfall, it happens in a very short duration of time, and it's fairly intense. Now, if you don't have the right structures to stop them, slow them down, and use them to recharge the groundwater, which we have depleted at a very alarming rate, we can never think of becoming water secure, because our dependence on groundwater is not going to reduce in the near future. So the only way to fast recharge, because if we leave it to recharge naturally, it will never be able to recharge at the same rate at which we are exploiting it. So we have to go ahead and recharge it artificially. And there are injection wells can be there. You can have percolation tanks. You can have rooftop rainwater harvesting structure. You can use abandoned bore wells for that. You can even look at rejuvenation of all the ponds which have dried up completely. You can dug wells, open wells. Traditionally we had. How we can clean them up. Spring shed management is like another very good way of doing that. So I think all these things are very important. Next is your agriculture. Agriculture, of course, consumes the largest amount of water. It's almost 85% of our water, fresh water, is consumed by agriculture. So we need to really look at how we can go for mechanization in agriculture, especially irrigation system. You can actually go for pressurized irrigation system. So you can go for drip irrigation. You can go for sprinkler irrigation, especially in rice where you have flood irrigation system. Now there are better systems which are coming, which is wet and dry irrigation system, where you can use sensors to measure the soil moisture. And once you know that, okay, the plant needs water now, you apply water only around that time, and don't mindlessly flood your fields. India perhaps uses almost 3 times or 4 times the water that China, or for that matter, other countries use for cultivating rice. So Sensors are another very good way of monitoring the water soil moisture. Their tensiometers are available at the very low cost tensiometers which are there. You don't have to spend a lot of money in installation of that. So then choose those crops like based on the agroclimatic condition. So grow rice wherever you have sufficient amount of water, and not just grow rice in Punjab or some other states where you have really crisis of water. Sugarcane, for instance, is another crop which we grow in Maharashtra again, where there's very little amount of water. So perhaps, we have to look at agroclimatic condition. Then there are other ways, like mulching is one way to protect the soil moisture. You can look at that. Then we are also now looking at agroforestry, especially as part of regenerative agriculture. We are also looking at intercropping extensively. I've seen sugarcane being grown with mustard, sugarcane grown with potato, sugarcane grown with lentils. So a lot of these intercropping where, with the same soil water irrigation water application, you can grow multiple crops. So again, many such ways which are there. Satellite, now actually you have satellite imagery that is there, that can actually give you a lot of information about your watershed. So try to leverage on the tools which are already available. You have maps. Now we have in India, we have Bhuvan satellite. It gives you a lot of information again with respect to evapotranspiration, with respect to soil moisture, with respect to climate. IMD has got an agroclimatic this thing. Make use of that as well. There are multiple ways in which you can actually, just that you need to leverage on what you already have, rather than, thinking of new innovations. And traditional knowledge perhaps tops it all, because indigenous people were the ones who lived in harmony with nature. If that can be combined with the modern scientific system that we talk about, I think it's a win-win for everyone.